Coming up on the Paper Talk today, if you think I'm still going to be going on about the Manchester derby, you're absolutely right. So let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and the weather. Do you know what? It might be a bit grim, but I feel like I'm out here today in the sunshine after that win over Manchester City in the Manchester derby on Saturday. I'm still not over it, and I'm still going to keep banging on about it forever, because it was an absolutely amazing performance for Michael Carrick's team. Every single one of them was a hero, and yeah, I'm still buzzing, and so should you be, unless for some reason you're a City fan watching this, in which case, keep crying. Loads of stories to get through, but I'm going to focus on one in particular. Before I do, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think too. The story I want to focus on is Fabrizio Romano said, I think he said on his YouTube channel, about the club are planning to have a meeting today with Michael Carrick and regarding the sort of plans for January and whether there could be some transfers this January. Now, we've had loads of different reports on what could happen in January. We've had reports of mystery midfielders perhaps coming. We've had reports that maybe the club are looking at Ruben Neves. We've had, at one point it was Conor Gallagher. Obviously that's not happening now, he's already gone. But there's been all these varying reports about what Manchester United could do. 1 minute Joshua Zirkzee looks like he's going, then he isn't. 1 minute Kobe Mainoo looks like he's going now, obviously. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere, especially not after that performance on Saturday. So there's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes, but it is does seem quite reliable. It's coming from Romano that the club are looking at options in January for Michael Carrick. Now, one of the reasons that it sort of unravelled for Ruben Amorim was apparently he was told there was no budget, there were no signings for January, and that left him a little bit miffed, especially when we had budget for Antoine Semenyo for 65 million quid. Apparently we were going to get him if he'd come to Old Trafford, but once he said no, I want to go to City. Why you'd want to go to City and join a bunch of losers is beyond me, but he did. And then the manager was like, okay, well, I've got 65 million quid I can spend elsewhere, and the club were like, no mate, that was for Semenyo, and you're not spending it anywhere else. And he was like, right, okay, I'm going to have a meltdown and more or less make my job untenable, which is kind of what happened. So there was obviously an option to buy someone in January. That was being Semenyo. Doesn't look like the club were willing to go for anyone else. Is that going to change? Now, the reason that might change, and this sounds a little bit like, oh, well, let's all get mega carried away with the Derby Day win, but it wasn't just that win at the weekend that went United's way. All the teams above us dropped points. Villa got beat at home to Everton. I'll get to that in a minute. I think Liverpool drew, I want to say, with Burnley, I think. Arsenal drew with, was it Forest or someone? I can't remember. Newcastle and Wolves drew, I think. I might be getting some of these fixtures wrong. Double check him, let me know. But everyone dropped points above us. And now United are in 5th place. I think we're 1 point behind the Scousers. We're in a pretty strong position. Now, I said a few months ago, or whenever it was, it might have been about 6 weeks ago, that maybe the club might look at where we are in January and go, is it worth bringing someone in if there's a realistic chance we can get Champions League football and that helps us? Because if we get Champions League football, that could be worth up to, I think the top end, it could be worth up to about 150 million quid to you. Lower end, it could be worth 60, 70 million quid. It's kind of worth it. If you go out and spend 67 million quid, it's kind of like, well, look, if this can get us over the line, and there's no guarantee, you could go out and make a signing and still finish 7th. But if you think, look, we're in a pretty strong position, if we strengthen now, that's what we used to do at this club. Remember, under Sir Alex Ferguson, when we were strong, we used to strengthen. It kind of kept us at the top of the pile for 2 decades. If you strengthen now, I know we're not at the top of the pile, but you get my point, then that could give you the advantage you need to get over the line and get Champions League football. 5th might be Champions League football, we don't know. 4th certainly will be. Manchester United are in with a decent shout at getting either of those spots. So maybe the club are going to look at it. Maybe they're buying into what Michael Carrick's trying to do already. He's got a reaction from the players in that one game. You can see it straight away. Tactically, he seems to be doing what the club and the hierarchy wanted him to do. Forward and back, we hear that Jason Wilcox is a big fan of that. We all know that Jason Wilcox, opinion around here is, the law, apparently. So maybe the club looking at it going, okay, let's have a conversation. Is there someone in January we can get? Now, it might not be a mega signing. It might not be we go all out and get Adam Wharton or Elliot Anderson or Carlos Baleba, the main sort of midfielders we've been linked with. It might be we get a stopgap that we weren't going to do under Ruben Amorim, but we go out and we spend 20, 30 million on someone. I don't know who that may be. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let me know what you think. That could happen. We'll have to wait and see, though, because as always with Manchester United, you never quite know what is going down. But Manchester United is certainly in a better position. And one of the reasons we're in a strong position as well is some of our rivals, well, when I say some of our rivals, Aston Villa, the wheels are coming off there a little bit, aren't they? Because not only did they lose, I think it was at home to Everton, Unai Emery gave a really bizarre sort of post-match interview, and I think I jinxed him when I suggested that he could be a future Manchester United manager last week, because he's certainly acting like, well, he's acting like a Manchester United manager in the sense he's having a meltdown and trying to get himself in trouble with his bosses. But yeah, he sort of said, we're not about Aston Villa, they're not top 5 contenders. And there are, basically, I'm paraphrasing, there are other teams that are better than them, or other players that are more up for it, kind of thing. It was a really odd interview, and he seemed to be feeling the pressure there, and he obviously upset that his team had lost. I think it was the first time they've lost at home since August. So, look, Villa are still in a very strong position. They could have gone, I think, above City had they won, so let's not sort of kid ourselves that it's all over for them. But maybe they're not looking as solid as they did do. Liverpool have been very up and down this season, we know that. Manchester United have the opportunity here where if we can kick on, or if we can keep the momentum going that Michael Carrick has started with that big win over Manchester City, then who knows? And maybe the club have looked at that and gone, do you know what? Yeah, let's have a conversation. Let's see who you think can do a job. Let's maybe look at some of the targets we've already got and see, shall we try and expedite that? Get him in now, get him in January, and let's go for it. I don't know. It's definitely one to keep an eye on. We'll be keeping an eye on it, so make sure you're subscribing to the channel and following us on the socials to see it as well. Another story that was doing the rounds this weekend, which I thought was quite funny, was that Michael Carrick was going to do an interview with the Sky Sports studio ahead, or either before or after the Manchester derby, I'm not sure which. I think the Daily Mail have had this one. And then the club said, well, he's not doing that, when they realised it was Roy Keane who was in the studio. Roy Keane, who's just basically slagged off Michael Carrick's wife, which has caused a bit of a, you know, a storm in a teacup, shall we say. I mentioned this yesterday on my news. This all stems from the time in Athens when United got beat off Olympiacos. Roy Keane was doing the post-match punditry on the pitch. I was at that game, and you could tell Roy Keane was in a bit of a mood. It was a terrible performance by United. We got beat 2-0. The fans were chanting Roy Keane's name. I don't even think he acknowledged us. That's how moody he was being, and usually he does. Michael Carrick did the post-match interview. It was a bit flat, as Roy Keane said. Roy Keane laid into him, and Michael Carrick's wife commented on social media, calling Roy Keane a "see you next Tuesday." So Roy Keane's held on to that for about 11 and a half years. And then decided to throw it back in Michael Carrick's face on the overlap, so you can understand why Michael Carrick doesn't want to do an interview with Roy Keane. I get it. So yeah, just a little bit of a soap opera there between them two. Talking to soap operas as well, I mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. Lisandro Martinez pushing back on Paul Scholes' comments and said apparently that if he wants to come and chat to me after Paul Scholes says, or Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes said Erling Haaland could basically pick him up and throw him into the goal, which that didn't happen. Lisandro Martinez, who's got a very good record against Erling Haaland, yet again did the business on him alongside Harry Maguire. Erling Haaland barely got any touch of the ball and ended up getting subbed on the 80th minute, which sent Old Trafford into an absolute frenzy. We love that one. So Martinez pushed back, saying, you come round my house and have a word if you want to say that to me. Paul Scholes pushed back on that on social media, saying, oh, someone's had a good game. Well, had a good game, have we? Happy to have a chat with you. I'll come round or something. I'll have a cup of tea. I think he said tea, no sugar. So the big question there is, does he take milk? Do you know? Does Scholesy take milk? That's the question that we need to be asking ourselves, because it's bothered me, that one. Tea, no sugar, right, I get that. You're not having milk, or are you having milk? What's going on? We need to know. Can someone find out? I'm going to wrap it up there before I lose the plot again. I'm still off my head from Saturday. Like I'm on something, but I'm not, don't worry. We're back later on today. We're going to be hearing from Stephen Howson. We're going to have the Paddock podcast with me, Joe, and Ronaldo Brown. Make sure as well you are checking out the merchandise. There's a link in the description and on the pinned comment. Go and check out the merchandise. We appreciate you supporting the channel, and it's top quality stuff, as I'm sure you'll notice from all the comments we've been getting about it. I've been Jay Motti. This has been the Paper Talk from a quite cold Old Trafford, but I'm still feeling the sun. Thanks for watching.